Talk about Eric Ten Hag, who were expected to pop up against Brentford, Mark. This is Pete Hall reporting. United power brokers fly in to keep Ten Hag in charge for Brentford Clash. Mark, does that echo your understanding that Ten Hag will still be there for the Brentford game?
Well, pretty much. What I've been led to believe is that Ineos or City and Ratcliffe's team really don't want to change the manager. They can see that things aren't going as well as they should be on the pitch. The results are terrible. You know, they haven't won for 5 games now, United. And it's not looking good. The 14th in the Premier League, worst Premier League start ever. But because of the situation with PSR, they posted losses of £113 million last month. Changing a manager, the cost that involves, is the last thing they want to do. So the sense I get is that they're going to give it another few games to see if he can turn it around, Ten Hag, and if not, then they'll have to make a decision, you know, maybe November, December time. But as it stands right now, despite the fact United have been awful this season, you know, 5 goals, only Southampton have scored fewer, he's going to ride it out. So, but he's on borrowed time, obviously, unless he turns it around, because the way things are going at Man United right now, it's not good enough. But they really don't want to get rid unless they really have to.
OK, well, they've got Brentford, then it's Fenerbahce and Jose Mourinho away, Jack. Then it's West Ham away. Just how bad could it get for Ten Hag? I mean, the Europa League looks difficult to not qualify from, but they could be in that position, couldn't they, in the bottom half of the league? Surely it can't go on forever. What's your take?
It can't, and I think, you know, there's also the considerations that Mark spoke about there financially in terms of what they can and can't do, but they also made the decision in the summer to stick with him after it was very publicly and widely known that perhaps they didn't want to and they were speaking to other people. So you'd almost look rather daft now going straight into the season, having come out and said we'll stick with him and get rid of him so quickly. But then equally, if they're thinking now, we'll wait and see how it goes, they've probably made their minds up already. They tried to get rid of him in the summer. They've thought about getting rid of him this week. It feels like it's inevitable at some point. And any player or former player will tell you that once that feeling gets out there, that feeling amongst the squad, the atmosphere changes, the level of respect perhaps changes a little, and things only head one way. I mean, we keep thinking that they've hit their lowest point, but you list the games there, and you think if they lose a few of them, we'll sink even lower. So it doesn't feel like something that's going to be resolved very quickly or resolved with Eric Ten Hag in charge, really.
Yeah, very difficult for Eric Ten Hag as well. Remember, he's a man just after all as well in a job. So wish him the best. They're dealing with all the speculation as well, I suppose. So let's...
Right. But nothing's bigger at the moment than them dilly-dallying over...
But there's going to be nothing new. That's the problem, isn't it? It's like that meeting today.
Well, I've had this... Well, exactly. So
So what are we going to say that's new about it?
We can batter the Ineos and all the Jason Wilcox,
yes,
Omar Barada, Sir Dave Brailsford, all them that are dilly-dallying. Did you see that one yesterday? Ineos were having a meeting at Old Trafford before the one in London, and Gary Neville was there as well.
Oh, nice. I
mean, maybe he wasn't. If he wasn't having a part of the meeting, then fair enough. But is he have a day off? What's it got to do with him?
Well, they just want all the voices.
He's
the Oracle in, didn't they?
Huh? What, Don?
Got the Oracle in, didn't they?
Oh, seriously, have a day off. Busy. Was he getting in there?
What is it making a be, sir?
Cheerleader. Why would you get cheerleaders in to make decisions? Busy. That's what you say for somebody that's busy.
Oh, busy bee.
Busy. Yeah, busy. Involving everything, you know. Want a day off? No, I'm a day off. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, do a podcast, do this.
That's like Shaka.
I can't believe it. These people that are running this football club really want the input from all these ex-Man U players. Seriously?
I know.
Have a joke. Well, that's me out of the next get together with the Man U.
Oh, you'll be out of that WhatsApp group.
Ineos not calling you.
What a bunch they are.
Don, can Van Nistelrooy take over the reins at United? What can he realistically change that he can't as a current assistant manager? Shouldn't assistants identify areas of weakness and improvement for the manager?
I think it's absolutely inevitable. I don't know if you've seen the game against Porto. He got a yellow card because he was showing like a little bit of passion, and I can imagine that was done on purpose, just so the Man United fans can see he shows a little bit of passion. Van Nistelrooy, I'm with Craig. I mean, what's the point in talking Ten Hag? Because I don't know what they're waiting on. It's inevitable that he'll get the sack. I don't know when. I don't know what they're waiting for. I don't know what they think's going to happen that's going to change. I mean,
sorry, Don.
We've all seen the stats.
Just to that point, then as an assistant manager, Does he have any influence at all then?
I would imagine so. I would imagine he's got an opinion. I would imagine he's got a voice that Ten Hag wants to listen to. The only thing I find really bizarre when that sort of happens, Dan, is when a manager gets the sack and the assistant manager in Ruud van Nistelrooy say he takes over. When I've seen that happen in the past, and they sort of play a different system or they go with different personnel, I always think, well, weren't you telling the manager that when he was in charge? Weren't you trying to help him? So I would totally understand that Ruud van Nistelrooy is going to get the job if that happens, and I think it will at some point before the end of the season. I think it's inevitable. But I'd love to see what he's going to change, because why isn't he making a change with his input at the moment? I find that fascinating.
Yeah. Well, the manager, at the end of the day, you can tell him to play Tom, Dick and Harry, but it's his head on the block, Ten Hag, so he'll make the decision. I think as big a part of the problem with performance, which has been pretty bad, again, in the tactics, is the players that under him he's allowed to come in. Now, he may not have had the full say on a lot of them, but you're not telling me Joshua Zirkzee was on United, not on. You're not telling me Anthony wasn't a player that he wanted. You're not telling me Matthijs de Ligt wasn't a player that he wanted. There's a list of them that have all come in under his watch that I think were pushed for by him, and that's a huge problem. That's a huge problem.
Do you have a different relationship with an assistant coach than you do a manager?
As a player?
Yes.
Well, usually, yes.
So then that changes the dynamic.
It's usually it's not always the case, but it's usually a more. Now, you get some assistant coaches that doesn't really happen so much now, but back in the day they were like sergeant majors. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Balling and
Ronnie
shouting.
Moran.
That name may have been mentioned before. So, but things have changed a little bit, and I think over the period when I was playing, you have more of a matey relationship with it, more of a friendly relaxed relationship, and you know ultimately the manager is making the big decision.
Right.
So that relationship is a lot of the times a little bit different, not always, but quite often.
I agree. I think, well, certainly teams I play with, the relationship between players and assistant manager, whoever, very different. He's a go-between.
Is he kind of a conduit?
Yeah, he's a go-between. So he's, half player, half management, and kind of bridges that gap. And then to your question, if he takes over the hot seat, now all of a sudden...
you're not matey with him.
No, you can't, because now he's leaving players out, he's dropping players. So inevitably the relationship becomes very different. And then, and to Van Nistelrooy, you could say, Van Nistelrooy could say to Ten Hag, start Rashford, or don't take him off at half-time, whatever game it was. And Ten Hag just does whatever he wants. And as the assistant, you can't say anything. You certainly can't say anything publicly.
Well, good thing it doesn't fall on you. No one's.
Right, yeah, but also you can't say anything publicly. So it's not as though people are going to say, "Oh, well, Van Nistelrooy told him that." So he's going to have to publicly support whatever Ten Hag does, whether he agreed with it or not, whether he advised him against it or not.
The other side of it is that, and it's a silly little thing, but say we'll just take the Ten Hag, Ruud van Nistelrooy. So the players will be calling him Ruud at the moment.
Okay.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
Maybe a few other things. Probably not, but probably calling him Ruud. If he does get the job and he walks in the dressing room and says, it's not Ruud anymore,
right,
it's boss.
Okay.
Right? Which, a lot of them do see.
Right.
Some of these players might be like, oh, is that right? Mm-hmm. Oh, is that right? The big head's here. So you have... It's a very fine balance to strike. And you can't... It's a difficult fence to straddle. I mean, when, Ruud Gullit, to give him credit, when he became manager at Chelsea after being a player, just didn't say, call me Ruud.
Right.
And whatever, and we did. He wasn't bothered about that, but some are, and it's a difficult, as I say, fence to straddle, because you don't want players to think of you as some sort of big head. No, he's got the job now. Look, look at him.
Sure.
So it's not an easy transition.
Don, do you want to add anything?
No. Always nailed it.
All right. No, that's fine.
Don, that's what we like.
More decisive.
Manchester United could wait until closer to the January transfer window to sack Erik ten Hag, according to the club's former chief scout Mick Brown. there is currently huge uncertainty surrounding the future of Ten Hag, as Man United have made a poor start to the 2024-25 campaign, currently sitting down in 14th spot in the Premier League table. The Red Devils have made their worst ever start to a Premier League season, while they have drawn their opening 2 matches in the league phase of the Europa League against FC Twente and Porto. Man United's co-chairman Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Joel Glazer, football board member Sir Dave Brailsford and sporting director Dan Ashworth were in attendance for an executive meeting in London on Tuesday, where Ten Hag's future is said to have been discussed. Thomas Tuchel, who left his role as Bayern Munich manager in May, is currently being heavily linked with the position, while there have been claims that Ruud van Nistelrooy could be placed in charge on an interim basis. However, Brown, who is well connected to Man United, has suggested that a change in the dugout is unlikely to occur until closer to the January transfer window. "They've got a load of players who somebody's got to come in and deal with," he told Football Insider. "I'm not so sure that the likes of Massimiliano Allegri and Tuchel, people like that, would want that lot. So they're governed by the transfer window and when they can make some changes. I've heard the club would like to wait until closer to January before they pull the trigger on Ten Hag so any new boss can have the transfer window. But circumstances may be that they're forced to pull the trigger early. Ideally, it would be closer to January and around the Christmas period, and if they wanted to make the call, then the new manager could bring in his own players. Results will need to pick up though, because the pressure is on, and they could be forced to make a decision earlier than that." Man United will return to Premier League action against Brentford on October 19th, with that match marking the start of a busy run of fixtures for the 20-time English champions. It is understood that no decision on Ten Hag's future was made on Tuesday, and the Dutchman remains under the impression that he will be given time to turn the season around. As it stands, it does appear likely that Ten Hag will remain in charge for the clash against Brentford, with Man United chief said to be reluctant to remove the manager at this stage of the campaign. However, it is a fast-moving situation, and it would not be a shock to see a change occur in the coming days.